In this exercise, we're going to have some fun. We're going to generate the God's eyes using a sequence of fills that will build up inside the appearance panel. I've gone ahead and saved my progress thus far as richblacks.ai, found inside the 07 fill stroke folder. And I want you to notice that so far my God has little orphan Annie eyes. So no irises, no pupils, no highlights, no nothing. And I want to change them out for these kinds of eyes right there. Looking much better, I think. So as I say, this is going to be one set of objects, just two circles that have a bunch of fill attributes inside of them, whereas currently there is no fill at all. Now, these eyes are part of a larger group, and if I click on either of these eye shapes using the black arrow tool, you'll see that I've got just a ton of objects that are grouped together here. And I could try to sift my way through them once again with the white arrow tool, or I could just double-click to enter that group isolation mode, which is so useful inside of Illustrator. Now, still armed with the black arrow tool, I'll go ahead and click on one of the eyes, shift-click on the other one, and I'll switch over to the appearance panel, which, as you may recall, you can get to by pressing Shift F6. And notice that we have a stroke but no fill. So I'll go ahead and click on a stroke to make it active. And notice up here in the swatches panel, that happens to be this guy right there, C30, M60, Y70, K50. Fantastic. All right, so let's go ahead and apply that same swatch to the fill. And I'm going to do that by clicking on fill to make it active here inside the appearance panel. Then I'll click once again inside of this little swatch to bring up the pop-up panel, and I'll click on C30, M60, Y70, K50. Now that's not exactly the color that I'm looking for, so I'm going to modify it slightly inside of the color panel. Check this out. Now I'll click off the panel to hide it, and I'll shift-click to bring up the color panel. Notice that I'm seeing just one slider bar and it's labeled T. That T stands for tint. So I could go ahead and back off the tint of my swatch if I wanted to lighten it up, but that's not really what I'm looking for. So I'll go ahead and max out that tint value once again, and I'm going to convert this color to its CMYK values. So that's something you have to do when you're working with global colors in order to break that link. I'll go ahead and click on that little multicolor box there in order to convert the color to its CMYK values, and I'll reduce that K value to 20%. That's all I'm going to do. And then I'll go ahead and press the Enter key or the Return key on the Mac. And you might say, well, Deke, that did lighten things up. Yes, but in a very different way than modifying the tint. When you back off the tint, you're backing off all of the inks to the same degree. By converting the color to CMYK, I was able to back off K, the black value, and nothing else. So I was able to keep that nice, rich brown saturation. All right, so that defines the iris. We want to add another fill to the stack, and I'll do that by dropping down to the Add New Fill icon in the bottom left corner of the Appearance panel. And I'll click on it, and I'm going to change the color of this fill from brown to rich black. Definitely want to work with rich black this time around. This will be the pupil, but at first it's going to merely replace one fill with the other. So again, a lot of people have problems with this. Why would you add multiple fills to a single path when one fill is just going to cover up the other? Even if you change the opacity values, well, then you just get a mix between them, and there's other ways to pull that off. Well, one of the great reasons for doing this is you can modify the size and position of one fill with respect to the other by making sure that that rich black fill is selected. Then go up to the Effect menu, choose Distort Transform, and choose my favorite effect command, which goes by the prosaic name Transform. If you loaded D keys, you've got a keyboard shortcut of Control-E, Command-E on the Mac. Turn on the preview checkbox so that you can see what you're doing. That's always turned off by default for dynamic effects inside of Illustrator. And then I want you to change the horizontal value to 50% and press the Tab key, and then change the vertical value to 50% as well and press Tab. And now you've got pupils. That's all there is to that. Click OK in order to accept that modification. Now I want you to grab that fill like so and drag it down onto the little page icon to duplicate it. And that goes ahead and grabs the transform effect as well. This time around, we're going to use the fill to create a highlight. So click on the fill swatch, select white from the drop-down panel, and I want you to go ahead and click on transform. Just click on it. You don't have to double click. And we'll change the horizontal value to 30% and the vertical value to 30% as well. Turn on preview so you can see what you're doing. That's some interesting highlights, but they're centered right in the middle of those pupils. So let's modify the move value. I'll change the horizontal value to -1 and the vertical value to -1 as well. And that will move those highlights over to the left and up. So bear in mind, vertical movements when negative are up, positive is down. With horizontal, negative is left, and positive is right. Go ahead and click OK in order to accept that modification. We're done working inside of the group isolation mode, so you can just go ahead and press the Escape key to return to the larger illustration, and then press Control-Shift-A or Command-Shift-A on the Mac in order to deselect the illustration. And there you have it, one of many, many ways to apply multiple fill attributes to a single object inside Illustrator.